I walk in the middle of winter. I walk in. Is the heat on?
You've got an F-con instead of a Bryant. Therefore, this F-con is crap. Yeah.
And as you do the business, as you actually get out there and get into the world, into the flipping world or the rehab world or whatever, as you get into it, you're going to start developing that BS meter, right? You're going to know what makes sense and what doesn't.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Not cool at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that replacing the furnace doesn't cost you $12,000.
Oh.
I just had my neighbor across the street. They put a furnace and AC in, 12 G's.
Whoa, what?
Right across the street from me. They had come to me for one of my contractors. So I call. I already had my contractor lined up because he just put a furnace in my house, and I think it was about $2,000. So I'm calling him. I'm like, I got my guy. He'll do the furnace and AC, labor materials for about $6,000, right? But I said, what brand of furnace do you want? Because that does play into the cost, because most of your furnaces, you have to have a dealership license to sell that furnace. Mm-hmm. You can't just walk into Home Depot
and say, give me that one.
Or Costco or in these other places and get one of the name brand furnaces. Now, Quite frankly, most of those components are coming from Korea or China anyway. So it really doesn't matter. But most people don't know that. They want to buy the brand name.
It's all about intimidation.
Yeah. The furnace is typically going to last you 15, 20 years anyway, or longer. And the components are interchangeable. You can pull a circuit board out, put another circuit board in, and away you go. But some people are, and nobody's going to see the brand. I mean, it's like, okay, it's not like I got my Mercedes parked in the lot and people can see I drive a Mercedes. You got a Bryant furnace that costs you $3,000 more parked in the basement. Nobody will ever see. All they do is feel the heat. Pardon my French. They're just going to feel the heat.
Is it hot in here? I feel hot. Are you guys hot?
So it doesn't matter. But to them, it does.
Yeah, totally.
A few days after that, I don't see the neighbors, but it's okay. So then I see two, mechanical trucks parked in the driveway. So then I go rolling by the house and I see the husband walking out of the driveway. I said, I stopped. I said, I tried to call you, right? Not to say, why didn't you call me back? And I called him and texted him, right? And the guy's a retired engineer.
What?
Right, so I'm doing my best, except for running over and banging on the door to try to get this guy, save this guy 6 G's, but he said, forget about it. I just had them do it. I'm like, oh, okay, fine, right? Fine. More money than sense, in my opinion.
There you go.
Right, it's not going to matter and some of the things that I've learned from you, from an appraisal perspective, when you go in to look at a house, do you give a real big bump if you got a Formica countertop versus granite? Maybe a little bit, but not much. As long as it's a functional kitchen, what do you care, right?
Right.
It does put you in a different category. So for instance, as I said this before, appraisers are like super buyers. We're super persnickety buyers, right? So I'm like that dude who rolls in. If I see granite with a nice backsplash, and it looks good, and it's the current color combinations, and it looks good, it makes me feel good, and I'm like, I don't have to do nothing. Well, if you were here, you're here now.
Right.
That's where we're starting from.
Right.
In relation to a furnace, I don't give it. I mean, I walk in the middle of winter. I walk in. Is the heat on?
Yeah. So water heater. I think you want the utilities on. And I know I've had situations in appraisals where the appraiser said you got to have the water on, and we got to have the furnace and water heater have to be operational.
Yeah. So you can test that they work.
Yeah, see if they work, right?
From an appraisal standpoint and from your end buyer standpoint, nobody gives a crap if you spent $20,000 on a furnace or if you spent $1,000.
Did it work?
It just has to work.
Yeah.
That's it.
So to take that whole statement home, right? The other perspective is from the home inspector, right? So the home inspector is going to test the furnace to make sure it's working. He's looking for a blue flame, right? And if it's not a blue flame, if it's orangey, he's going to knock it a bit. He's going to talk about why it's not. You got some buildup here, some buildup. It's got service, right. And so he's putting this in the buyer's mind. And so the buyer's like, oh my God, I got to do something to the furnace. I got to do this or that. It's like, it doesn't matter, right? As long as the furnace is operational, he does. I've never heard a furnace inspector say, you've got an F-con instead of a Bryant, therefore this F-con is crap. Never.
That's crazy.
And I've gone through hundreds of home inspectors in 22 years as a realtor. Never.
Property investors, specifically real estate investors, really don't know how to value property. They don't. They just simply do not know how to value property the way banks do. Hey folks, how you guys doing today? Jimmy Roberts here, and after 30 years in the real estate business, over 20 years of that being in the appraisal business, the one thing that I know is for sure, the 5 biggest mistakes that real estate investors make that keep them from making big profits on their flips and in their investments in general. And I'm making that available to you. All you have to do is click the link below, and there you go.
So, you do as an investor need to know what makes the most sense from a cost perspective, right? And also perception of the buyer, which is important. That's very important. But those things you'll learn. And part of that, you can just roll through, the various websites, look at Zillow and Truly and Realtor.com and look at the houses and look at what's in the houses, Pinterest. These are all good sites in terms of learning what's out there in your prospective market. Because you need to know your market, but that's individualized and you can hone that down as you move through and decide, where you're going to focus. Because me, like I say, I always focus on the A market. So in Detroit, it's probably the top 5 or 6 markets in Detroit, the sub-markets within Detroit, the higher end areas that have basically sustained and that are going up in price point from a Detroit perspective. I don't buy in the lesser neighborhoods, from that perspective.
But if you did, again, the same thing holds true, right? It's a matter of making sure that you're rehabbing or renovating to the level of the area, plus a little bit more.
A little bit.
Plus just a little. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that much.
I like it a lot.
Because in your example, the reality is the difference for a 1,000 square foot home. The difference in cost between a Formica countertop and a single slab granite countertop.
About $600 maybe, somewhere around there. First of all, granite is like diamonds. They're different grades. So when you put granite in the house, you don't know whether it's the highest grade or the lowest grade. And quite frankly, 99.9% of the public can't tell the difference. Right? Even as an appraiser, you go in and you see granite. You don't know the grade. You just know it's granite.
It's all the same, man.
Normally, I buy the low grade. I don't buy the mid. I buy the low, which is usually somewhere around $35 to $45 a square foot. Is what I typically buy, but it's nice granite, it looks great. But I also buy remnant pieces. So the remnants are the cast-offs or what's left over from a granite job that they just put in their yard as extra that they sell usually by the piece, and it's way less expensive. So instead of it being maybe $50 a square foot, it might be $25, and it's a nice granite. Or let's say it's maybe a $75 a square foot, but I can get it for $35 or $40. I'll take it.
Shut up and take my money.
You get it at a discount, might as well.
Just to save you some money, because when mama comes in and she sees the granite, tile backsplash, stainless steel appliances, it's all over but the shout. Every single time, because she's walked in all the other houses at that price point, and they typically got Formica countertops. They might have a backsplash, maybe. They typically don't have both or all 3. Granite countertop, tile backsplash, stainless steel appliances. They don't typically have all 3. So I got all 3.
It's like a combo of I love it and I can't believe it.
At the same price point, they're like, well, why are we looking? Our house looks nice. Let's get it inspected. Let's get the offer in and let's go.
Deal.
Yep. One of the things that I'm finding on my end is in situations like that, they don't even care about the inspection, because even though our market has slowed, it's not as steep as it used to be. They want that house, and they know that if they don't make that offer quickly and make it attractive to the seller, they're not going to get it.
Is that what you want?
Yes, that's what I want.
And that goes back to me making sure my prices come in at top of market value in terms of what's in the house and what it looks like.